Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another StarCraft 2 cast for the LPS Last Player Standing StarCraft 2 Open number 2. My name is Kopo and I'm bringing you Game 2 between Oddz, our blue Protoss in the right-hand spawning position, and Snake, the red Zerg, in the left-hand spawning position. Map today is GSL Dual Site, the second map in the best of 3 map pool for these guys. There's no vetoes or anything, we just stick with the 3 maps. Everybody knows what they get into off the start, which is actually kind of a nice way to do it. I'm a fan of that system. We did see Snake take Game 1 in the series on GSL Crevasse by using a fast tech to lair to research his burrow and get some fast burrowed roaches out against his opponent, Oddz, who decided he was going to go for dual Stargate play. Tried to get some Voiders and Phoenixes in there and actually managed to do quite a bit of damage, since roaches obviously can't attack up. But the roach numbers eventually became too much for Oddz. He was overwhelmed, and the Voiders and Phoenixes were shut down by some Spore Crawlers and some Queens, and eventually a Hydralisk Den. And that basically lost Oddz the game there. We'll see if he can pull it back in Game 2 and force it to a Game 3, or if Snake can finish Oddz off and advance to the round of 8 in a 2-0 sweep. Do you see Chrono being used on that Nexus to Chrono boost out a couple probes. Likely a gateway will be laid down here at the front in an attempt to kind of wall off. Again, Overlords are spread out around the map for Snake. We'll see if he decides to go for that fast expansion like he did last game. Obviously that expansion in Crevasse, very easy to take. Dual Site, it has a fairly easy natural, but not quite as easy, and we do see a spawning pool dropped instead, so no fast expansion for Snake, at least as of yet. We'll see if he decides to save up that 300 minerals, but I do believe that spawning pool may indicate some early pressure. We'll see if this wall gets up in time to hold it off. Looks like it should. Probes are still being Chrono boosted out, gas being taken now as well, with the gateway about halfway finished. Probe Scout being very annoying in here, getting a full scout of everything he wants to see. Could gas steal, but I don't think that would be the most effective way to go about this, so he's just going to round at the base. Maybe plant a pylon here. Actually, that'd be a very good way to prevent the Zerg from fast expanding. It looks like he's saving up the minerals to do so. So we'll see if his probe can manage to stay here and be annoying, or if he can drop that pylon, and there we go. He does manage to drop a pylon there. Obviously, that seems to be the classic way for Protoss to prevent a Zerg from fast expanding, is simply to drop a pylon there. Obviously, if the Zerg lets that pylon stay there for too long, it can be problematic, but normally the response is to pop out some lings and get rid of that pylon as soon as possible. You see 2 lings are in production right now, so probably take out that pylon and maybe the probe, but also still seems to be here. You see a Cybernetics core now coming up for the Protoss player. Part of that wall off, obviously one Zealot will finish that off. So you see that Hatchery decides to go down over here. Probe both spotted, however, so it's not going to be too sneaky, but instead of getting to that pylon, he just decides, well, I guess I was probably planning on taking this third base anyway, so I may as well just take it first. Why not, right? Crypt Shred will be a bit of a problem there in terms of speed between the bases, but I'm sure Snake will find a way around that. And his 2 lings chase off this probe. This probe having seen everything he wanted to, and is fully aware of that expansion hatchery going up. Zealot here to guard the front as Warp Gate does begin to be researched, and second gas being taken by the Protoss player. Standard timings on his part, outside of the fact that maybe 100 minerals were used to block this expansion here. You see no metabolic boost is being researched, so maybe we likely will not see that Ling Speak come out. Maybe going for the fast roaches again. Fast burrow roaches seemed to basically win in the game last time, although it was a bit of a build order win, as his opponent did decide to go Stargates and lack the gateways to really defend against the roach pressure. So we'll see if the same thing happens. Obviously the map GSL Crevasse led very nicely those fast roaches. He was able to take out the destructible debris, find a hole in the Protoss's wall that way, was able to exploit it, but this has a very normal sized ramp and is able to wall up quite nicely. Pylon being dropped in the low ground, usually indicative of a Nexus. So we'll likely see a Nexus dropped here by Oddz. We'll see if those minerals begin to start stacking up. Spawn Larva almost complete here for the Zerg player, and we'll see some units being made out of that. Yes, getting a bit of a surplus. Hatchery has popped now, and Queen being trained, obviously, to get those injects in. 1 drone, 2 drones mining, all by their lonesomes, but I'm sure they really don't mind, really, if they actually cared about mining alone or in pairs. I'm sure nobody actually cares enough about their opinion to make note of that. Drones transfer coming over here, so these drones will not be quite as lonely anymore, as well as their Queen has joined them in their pursuit of harvesting minerals. Ling speed actually is being researched. My apologies for calling that incorrectly. We'll see if we see some fast Ling aggression here. Still only mining off 1 gas geyser though, so we likely won't see a whole lot of tech quite this early. At this point in the game, last game, we did see a lair already coming up as he had taken those gas geysers quite quickly. Obviously not the case this game. We do see a forge being built on the low ground as well as the Nexus. Some cannons probably being built to defend this, or maybe just the forge to defend because it has such high health. I highly doubt that's the case. We'll probably just be seeing some cannons. 3 gateways are now up for the Protoss player. He's doing some sort of a 3-gate expand. He does have fully saturated 2 gases in his main base. The Zerg has yet to take anything past the first gas. He did manage to get just enough of that link speed, and now he's simply not harvesting gas at all. He's pulled all drones out of that gas geyser. He does have 68 gas in the bank, but he's obviously banking a lot on these lings, doing a significant amount of damage as his lair does begin to morph. We'll see if that was maybe a mistake to pull the lings, or to pull the drones out of gas, as he is currently not bringing in any gas to build anything other than lings. Roach is obviously not an option at this point. We do see more drones are in production. He's basically just droning up hard. Protoss hasn't been able to put any pressure on. Ling speed has been completed. When you see his lings dashing across the map, actually looking quite fearsome. This is quite a fair few lings. Force fields actually split them quite nicely. We do see a couple lings get through, and those will be picked off very easily. Ling's going to have a hard time trying to get around this wall, and this cannon back here, once it completes, will be able to hold them off at bay for now. You see the response is to take a hatchery. For Snake, I don't believe he's gearing up for any, or the Protoss player is gearing up for any sort of counterattack, so it is safe to take that third, which actually is in his natural location. Second gas guys are being taken as well as both these at his expansion. He did manage to take this one earlier and has it fully saturated. See if he decides to transition to something a little bit more gas heavy. 2 more gateways now being dropped for the Protoss player. Obviously going gateway heavy in this game, as those sentries are numerous in their numbers, and we'll be able to split these lings non-stop. And those force fields are actually do quite a good job, manage to save the sentries by force fielding the lings away. And the sentries will use their little laser beam thing and poke away at the Zerglings until they go away. Spire now being dropped for the Zerg player. Apparently that is a tech choice. We're going to see either Mutas or Corruptors for no apparent reason. Maybe Broodlords if we do get to that stage in the game. Obviously Mutas being the more reasonable alternative to any of those things I mentioned. Where did he plant those additional gateways? Oh, they're all over here actually. We do see four gateways in production, 3 already completed, so we will see 7 gates up. Likely timed with this a push of some kind, as this +1 is almost completed. One ling pokes in to see what he can see, but actually he can't see a whole lot on the low ground. Another warp gate down here actually brings the gateway total up to 8. Let's see, does he have a proxy pylon planted here? Where I don't see a proxy pylon planted. So we'll see if he maybe decides to bring a probe up and grab one of those. Put some pressure on the Zerg player. He cannot allow the Zerg player to sit back and macros. That would be a huge mistake. Ground armor level 1 coming down for the Protoss player as well. Spire is almost completed. It takes almost as long to build as the Dark Shrine, it seems like. Which is to say basically an eternity. Very few drones mining here yet. I'm sure he'll be well on his way to saturating that, as both gas geysers are taken as well. Supplies are still fairly even. No major confrontations have happened. A couple of lings were killed in the making of this replay, as you may say, by trying to run into this expansion nexus, as we're quickly picked off by this massive sentry force, all of which have tons of energy to force fields, basically to no end. Both players are macroing quite well. We just see Spire has completed. We'll see if what the tech choice out of that is. Like I said, I'm sure, almost certain it will be Mutas, but we'll have to wait and see. Do see that the Protoss is sitting back and macroing up an army, but he does seem to be pushing it out here. He does bring a probe with him to plant that proxy pylon somewhere in the vicinity. It looks like it's going to be here. Quite a nice location actually. If the probes don't, or if the Zerg does not scout this, the lings are actually going to run right by. Don't know if he's aware that this force is actually here, but he's going to decide to run right by anyways. Zealots will not cross the path of his lings actually, so he's going to stream up there, and that was a bad idea, as this Protoss army is all right back here. He's just going to go for it. He's going to run all his lings in here, try to do some damage, as this Protoss army is going to invade the natural of the Zerg. Zerg is now supply blocked, as he's had overlords picked off along the way, and these Zealots are doing huge damage to the drone line, as well as the hatchery, which is about to fall. I'd have to assume this Protoss army is too much. Lings are doing huge damage back here as well, though this cannon is still back here to defend, and Lings are unable to get surround. Very nicely placed cannon. Zealots running into the base. Mutas are out now trying to do some damage to the Zealots, but those will be quickly negated by the Stalkers, as Mutas are basically made of paper, and Stalkers are quite good against them. This whole Protoss army decides to move up into the base, constantly streaming down. You see all the probes are actually pulled. They're just going to go for one big attack, as Lings are attacking the expansion nexus, and it will fall. Actually, they're attacking the home base nexus too. We do seem to be in a bit of a base race here, as all the probes have been pulled. And we'll see if he decides to build any additional nexuses at some weird expansion locations. We're actually just going to clump them all up here and see what he can do. Mutas are going to hover over that third base, which has apparently turned into the natural expansion, as sentries and Stalkers back here trying to take out the reinforcing Mutas from the main base, and then go back to attacking the main base itself. One Zealot over here attacking the Spire. We see this big group of probes and Protoss units still trying to pick away at apparently one useless little bit of larva, and these Lings are actually have died in quite a fast amount thanks to that cannon. But they have, and I'm assuming, additional warped-in reinforcements. But this Protoss force is moving into the third base, and we see spine crawlers trying to be dropped. All the drones are going to be pulled to try and combat. We see drones fighting probes, which is actually quite a unique situation. But I do believe Oddz has the advantage here. He does seem to be pushing the Zerg back, and he has basically, even though he's lost both his Nexi, He does have a superior force, and he is going to try and move in and try and take out the Zerg player right here, right now. He does have almost double supply, more than double supply actually, of the Zerg player. We do see Spine Color almost completed, but it won't even get close before it is taken out. And this seems to be it for Snake, as he does say GG. Some kind of a weird face, obviously. And he says he's not playing very well today, but that's unfortunate. He did win Game 1. Oddz does manage to pull it back and win Game 2, so we will see a Game 3 in this best-of-3 series between these two players. The winner of which will advance to the round of 8 in the LPS Last Player Standing StarCraft 2 Open number 2. Check them out at lastplayerstanding.com in case you didn't happen to find this video on their website. This has been Kopo, and I will bring you Game 3 immediately following this. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the casting, and I will see you guys then.